I'm Jim Gustafson, professor of psychiatry at the University of Wisconsin Medical School. Hi, Mike. Giving my 36th and final lecture in this series on maps for psychiatry. Today's lecture is called The Spirit of Place. Now, concluding my series of essential maps, I am prepared to show 4 dream maps that demonstrate the simplicity of orientation. By orientation, I mean where the animal needs to close and where to stay out of danger, and where the animal needs to open to forage, to nourish him or herself. The crucial word is where. Knowing where you are positioned in your own phase space of all possible energies. If you're positioned wrongly, you will have disturbing signals like fear, defeat, nausea. Like being on call, you'll have a lot of signals like that, to alert you to your position of danger. This is why I believe that psychiatry of the greatest help is concerned with this orientation. It is the fundamental problem of biology and religion and literature. Now, the first dream map that I'm going to show you will have now, and Ed, you can go to the whiteboard. It's called Bouillabaisse, up there on the left-hand top, and I'll say a few words about it. So I had a good Monday before this dream, and one of my patients said to me, I read your 24 theorems, and it's too difficult. And I got it down from the shelf, and I read her a couple sentences, and I said, it's just plain English. A constant operator is stale, and a transitional operator is fresh. She said, oh yeah, that makes sense. I still get a flush, a hot engine flush every day about 5 in the morning. And I can't get it to stop. I literally flush. And why? I still do not accept the condition of the people. Like Akakievich, who you don't know, but you might want to read in the Overcoat. The people comply as copyists, as constant operators, and they compensate themselves like Akaki did. He had this great coat that he loved. He was a complete materialist. You know, that made up for everything. Gogol was 20 years ahead of Marx and much more concise and graphic. Now I dream a second dream, and we'll go to the thing that says LL Bean on the left hand. And this dream is called a gift, actually. I was feeling after a bunch of things that I needed a gift from somewhere, and I count on myself to provide gifts to myself at 4 in the morning. So LL Bean had sent me a set of trout flies with an astonishing property. They could adapt both to the individual fish and to the fisherman. Thus, they were wholly transitional. LL Bean had sent them to me without my asking, but at the same time, I had purchased them. This is what Winnicott would call a transitional object, because it's neither inside wholly nor wholly outside. So let's come back from you see those 3 flies there from LL Bean, and they have this marvelous property. All right, so coming back. Now, all of this was very matter of fact, but when I got up at 5:30 in the morning, I was knocked over by the immense beauty of this tiny set of trout flies. Such delicacy. And they stand for my 3 last books, which is one of these marvelous things that a tiny thing can stand for a huge thing. And they always have 2 lines of sight in them, these flies. They can be posed in many different ways, like these flies you just saw. I mean, they're adjusting outside to the fish, the individual fish, and they're adjusting to the individual movements of the doctor. Now, this is a different kind of fishing in psychiatry, and in biology, and in religion, and in literature. It alludes to Yeats's poem. It's called The Fisherman, probably the most important poem of my life that I've tried to live up to. Now I'm getting better at it as I get a rudder, as you know, a primitive Scandinavian map of navigation about this big, every morning at 4 a.m., and I steer my rudder into the day, every day. And so I have a signpost that says, here's what you're going to see this day. Now, the third dream, we can go to the board. You see that cold symmetrical engine up there. Now we come to the spirit of place, as D.H. Lawrence called it. This dream happened last Saturday afternoon in my nap. I never have beautiful dreams Saturday afternoon. Never. It was unprecedented. It had this beautiful architecture of symmetry. And it happened after a misfortune, which is I went to Nielsen Tennis Stadium that Saturday morning, and something happened that hadn't happened for 40 years. They said, we don't have your name down here. And me and these four guys who've been playing together for forever, we were totally astonished. But we didn't, throw a fit at the desk. And actually, we all just laughed. And it reminds me of this beautiful meeting when Cortez goes to Tenochtitlan, and he's conquered the whole place, and Montezuma meets him, and Cortez says, "You're now subject to the King of Spain," and Montezuma says, "Yep, I guess I am," but of course inside he thought nothing of that at all. You see, this refusal to rage, along with the refusal to comply, is an extraordinary result, and it puts you into a different spirit. I was in this beautiful, and this is the dream, I was in this beautiful cold engine symmetrical oval, like Tenochtitlan was for Montezuma. And it had these following properties, which are extraordinary. It was, as you saw up there, it's an oval. It's a beautiful oval, and it was mirrors all around, so that it was like a ballet rehearsal place. So the more the dream went on, the more energy I had. I was gathering energy from those reflections back, visually, from the acoustics of the place, which were like a great orchestral hall. And kinesthetically, I was bouncing off the boards like a hockey player, And I probably could taste and smell the place too. So let's come back from the whiteboard if you haven't. So this great symmetrical cold engine becomes possible and natural once I refuse to go along with Cortez taking over inwardly, but outwardly, I don't refuse. That's, I think, why that dream occurred. Everything beautiful I've ever done has carried out precisely this structure. That's how 5 of us played when I was on the MIT freshman basketball team, the 5 of us played Harvard to double overtime, because we were totally in this kind of balance. And that's how I learned to conduct groups, by steering between opposing currents 30 years ago. This is the spirit of place that emerges on every such occasion, like the one we're in, sitting here. All right, now for the 4th dream. Let's see how I'm doing in time. I didn't even take my watch off, Stuart. All right, I will. All right, now my distress was not over. In composing this last lecture, I felt tremendous pain after this beautiful dream that night. It was awful. It was just hurt like crazy, and I couldn't figure it out. I'd had this beautiful fertility of this beautiful cold engine, and yet I felt terrible. And I couldn't figure it out. Ruth and I watched the Berlin Philharmonic, and they were playing, Murray Perea was playing Schubert's Impromptu in E-flat major in this great hall of the Berlin Philharmonic, and I felt a little better, but boy, I didn't know. I didn't know, and I said to Ruth, I'm just going to go to sleep. I said, I can't consciously figure this out. But I thought, my dream will tell me. It's uncannily reliable. So we'll go to the whiteboard, and that under the cold symmetrical engine, you see a very complicated diagram, and it actually brought to my mind an extraordinary phrase from Psalms 121:1, which is, "I will lift mine eyes unto the hills, from which cometh my help." Now, this stream is about that. On the left there, you see the bare outline of a city. It was undergoing a Stanley Milgram experiment of having somebody increase the voltage into the city all the time. And everyone in the city had to jump on command, to the voltage. And the subjects were all tightly coupled to this situation. And the result of the city was that it was overrun with armies of Mexican drug lords who were making every block more treacherous. And I thought to myself, this is a reduction to absurdity. I have no faith in cities. As my wife said, well, that's all right. New York City will be underwater pretty soon. I said, yeah. I said, of course. So in the middle, you see something else. You see that big box there, that part? Okay. Now this was strangely enough in the dream, this was a bare outline of the hardest moment in the American Revolution. The army was encamped at Valley Forge, and it looked like everything was over. And they were digging, trenches in the ground so they didn't freeze to death and so on. And when I was a kid, we did that all the time. It was really fun. So anyway, the gear for this revolution arrived in a gigantic cereal box, which is about 3 stories high. You see that? I should have put a derrick, and it was like those derricks at University Hospital. They're always bringing in these enormous, that never stops. And only what happened was, as soon as the derrick lifted this gigantic cereal box full of all this material, all these new invented materials for the revolution, the box came apart at the seams and fell on the ground. And I thought, this is another reduction to absurdity. I have certainly no faith in our revolutions of more equipment and new inventions of more gear. So that faith was now over. So then on the right, you see that beautiful oval globe again. And like the Berlin Philharmonic or my conducting this group or whatever. But if Shakespeare's sitting here behind me, as he pointed out, he said, you can have a theater only lasts for a few hours like a dream, and then it leaves not a rack behind. So I thought, this is another reduction to absurdity, Brian. You can't take refuge in a theater because it will be over like these 36 lectures in a few minutes. And what will come for you then, right? So now we can come back from the whiteboard. Oh yeah, at the bottom there is something, there's the final part. And you can stay on the board. Well, I went up to my study and I thought, what have I got faith in, right? So I was sitting up in my chair, which is very high in our house. It overlooks these beautiful trees and in our core habitat, and I was writing out this dream. And then I thought, I'd just written out what I don't have faith in. Cities, revolutions, concerts, right? And I thought, well, I'm in the bosom of what I believe in, which is I'm in my faith. I'm sitting in my faith in my own family that I have put together, and this is what I have faith in. And when I was 8 years old, I learned, the Lord, Jehovah is my shepherd. I shall not want. And so you have to have a refuge. Okay, now we're about ready to stop. Or I was going to stop the lecture there, but I'm going. This is the PS to the lectures. So just for your amusement, and then we'll be done, and then we'll talk. So also known in music as a coda, right? Means tail. This is a tail to the 36 lectures. Okay, so perhaps and I'm stopping now, but you want to know where I'm going, right? So 2 nights ago, I was faculty backup for Dana and Brittany. And they seemed to be admitting patients all night long. I think we admitted 7 or 8 patients in one night. And by midnight, I was sick of it. I thought, damn, that's come one after another. And I was furious. So I didn't fall asleep for 2 hours. I was so angry. And I thought, they're having even the worst of it. You know, they're having to admit all these people, right? I'm just hearing about it. I'm ready to kill somebody. And the thing that bothered me was that everything I'd say in these 36 lectures seemed pointless in that such kind of situation, because at that kind of pace, at that kind of rush, all the cases just turn into a quick protocol. Yeah, it's a quick turnaround. And I thought, in this kind of hot engine rush of business, every case just becomes the same as every other. It becomes meaningless. And so now we'll go to the whiteboard for the last time, and you'll see that the dream that I then had between 2 and 6 in the morning, which I call, I was running for election in East Africa. That was the dream. It refers to the original place from which humanity broke out, you see. And so I was running for election, but I had a group of followers, and they were on a kind of a water wheel, as you see in the diagram. You see that water wheel that's going counterclockwise? And then the guy I was running against had a bunch of followers, and they were on some kind of wheel of fire, which was running clockwise, right? And they were going at a tremendous pace, and I was going counterclockwise. My followers were going very slow, and there was going to be an election to see which of these groups got to rule the world. You see, humanity. So come back, and here's the last paragraph, Paul. And then it's your turn. So I thought, it's 90,000 years after the original breakout of humanity. We're at another frontier for another kind of breakout onto another frontier. Now, some of us are going to go real slow counterclockwise into beautiful discoveries at 4 a.m. And some of us are going to go real fast, maybe not of their own choosing, right? And what Dana said to me 2 nights ago was way past nausea, she said to me. You get to choose what you vote for. Thank you.